In this episode, we'll be talking all about the brand new series of Ramped Up and everything that we have planned. We'll be meeting our brand new co-host Lexi, who will be helping us, and talking a bit about Disability Pride Month once again, as it starts today. Hello and welcome to episode 1 of series 2 of Ramped Up, the podcast all about disability. My name is George Sprouse.
My name is Julie Shenko.
And we have a brand new co-host.
Hi, I'm Lexi Bushnell.
And the three of us are here to essentially bring you a whole nother series of Ramped Up. Hopefully a bit better than the first series. Hopefully we've figured out a bit more about what we're doing and how we're doing stuff and all this sort of thing. We are still learning, but we're having good fun in the process, so that's the important thing, I think.
Yes.
So we're always looking for, new guests to come and join us and to talk to us about their experiences. It doesn't matter what form of disability you have. It might be, you're physically disabled, or you have an intellectual, sensory, or hidden disability or mental health condition. We want to hear from everyone, because the types of disabilities vary so much. We want to hear everyone's experience. I think in this episode we just really wanted to give you a bit of a rundown about our sort of plans and a bit of a catch-up, really. What sort of happened between season 1 and season 2. Give you a bit of a better explanation about why there was such a long pause and these sorts of things. That's our plan, I think, for this episode.
Okay, so kind of my main reason why we weren't able to record basically any episodes between when we finished season 1 basically to now is mainly because I've been in university full time, and trying to balance a social life, university life, and plus also the podcast. I kind of felt like it was unfair both on my part and on Joel's part to rush recording episodes, and also the fact that we didn't have the time to properly sit down and have a proper chat about it, about what our expectations were, what we wanted to do, just basically the future of the podcast. And now that I've got a few months off, until I start again for year 2 of my studies, I guess we wanted to not only record but also find a solution. And seeing as Lexi was very much happy to help and join us, we thought, why not introduce her and hopefully bring good content.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think between me and Julia, we were just so busy with multiple projects. I was, trying to get as much done as possible with finding a job, volunteering in a bunch of different charities, and just so many different things at the time. The time that we had left to get the podcast done, it would have been rushed. It would have been low quality. It would have just destroyed us. And so we had to take a hiatus, which me and Julia were very, very reluctant to do because we enjoy it so much. We enjoy just being in front of a camera, hitting record and talking and sharing our experiences and saying, oh, this is what I struggled with and this was really cool when this happened and these sorts of things. It's so great just to tell people your story. And I personally have found it so freeing to do that. And so it was really sad to not be doing that. And I really did miss it, and I really felt bad for the hiatus. But that's why we brought in Lexi. Because if I was to do the podcast myself, oh boy, would it be boring. Just hearing my voice and my voice alone. So
Yeah.
to have Lexi come on board and the three of us sort of co-hosting, and if Julia's not available, then we've still got two people, or if I'm not available, just we're still at least two people.
Yeah.
And also something else we wanted to kind of put up again is a social media account as well, especially our Discord, which we did launch, but we're not showing any love to. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to start running everything back up again.
Yeah. And this is something that me and Julia in particular have always been really passionate about. We've always been passionate about disability and activism and all of these sorts of things. And so we're sort of getting things together behind the scenes, opening up new doors and, making friends and, making these connections. It's really exciting for us. I think one of the things that we're planning for this episode, again, is just talking to lots and lots of people. And so I've got some contacts with Scope, who are the disability equality charity here in the UK. And I'll start working with them actually with a Discord server. They're set up a Discord server. I'll be working with them to get new people in and talking to us. And Editor Joel here, just to clarify a bit, I helped Scope to set up a server for them to build a community of young people in the UK that is separate to our Discord server that we have, that is for everyone of all ages, of all disabilities, wherever you are in the world. I was actually on TV recently, well, I say recently relative to recording. By the time you hear this, it will be out for, I think, 4 weeks-ish. Actually, no, not that long, 3 weeks, I think. I was on a terrestrial channel here in the UK called ITV, which is a pretty big charity, a pretty big channel, and I was on their program talking about accessibility. I was only in it for a couple minutes, but should I insert that clip in the podcast? Maybe I will.
But it's not just about access to information and help from staff in person. Even finding the correct up-to-date info on accessibility can be challenging.
You've got these maps, but they had their own fatal flaw where as soon as they're printed, they're effectively dated because things change all of the time.
This group of young people are coming together to consult with Transport for London on how to improve both the accessibility of the service and how to better serve the community so people understand what is available.
I have had members of staff go, oh, just use the TfL Go app or whatever, and you'll find the information on if it's step-free or not, but not everyone thinks to do that. Some people just want to get from point A to point B. Hopefully with Scope, we can create some resources that will help Londoners who need help with accessibility.
I've never heard of some of these resources. I'm like, well, this is going to change how I plan my journeys. I think progress is happening, but very, very, very slowly. It doesn't make sense to me when one of Britain's values is equality. But yeah, I attended this really cool event where basically we talked about TfL, Transport for London, that is, and, the areas where they're failing, got given some resources, and spoke to different people about it, and, the sort of struggles that we daily face just using public transport. I think a lot of people take it for granted. But yeah, I was saying it was sort of a hit and miss situation when travelling.
Yeah, we're actually travelling in a couple of weeks to the expo, Disability Expo. And let me tell you, the anxiety in me is rising.
Yeah, so actually when you hear this, we will be going to the expo in like a week.
Maybe you'll be already be up while we're at it.
yeah, so this episode will already be published. Because this episode's being published on 1st of July. Next week, we'll be talking a bit more to Willow about, who she is and find out about her. And it'll be the day after that episode. Wait, no, the day before that episode, we'll be going to the 2-day expo. So there's, I think by the time you hear this, there will still be tickets available. I'm not sure. But essentially, there's a disability expo in London where there's lots of talks and lots of events and stalls and things that will be set up. And me and Julia, we're really looking forward to going. I hope there's still tickets when you're hearing this and you're able to go, because it looks like a really cool event. It's been quite good in previous years. So, yeah. And we'll definitely be posting on our social media what's there and, or as many different things as possible.
We could try and do like a mini vlog
Yeah, that'd be cool.
or just a highlight reel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
All the cool things. Because I've had like really cool wheelchairs there and mobility aids and
Like I'm genuinely excited to go.
yeah. It looks like a cool event.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Am I just delayed for you guys, or is it?
I think we've all got a bit of delay across the board.
Like I'm hearing random like awkward silences from Joel, and like, Joel, are you talking or are you not? What's going on?
Yeah, we've got delays across the board. I'm delayed, Julia's delayed, Willow's delayed, Lexi.
Cackle.
Oh my goodness. In script camp, I'm going to start calling you Lexi.
Yeah. I am sorry to everyone. My internet is so bad here in my neighborhood, and this is some of the best that it gets. Unfortunately, it gets so bad during the rest of the day. Oh,
That's why we record today in the morning for you at least. So we get great internet.
yes,
Literally, you have to pre-book Lexi or Willow. You have to pre-book her early in the mornings while her internet is still good.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that Lexi has the night shift, well, not night shift, but the later shift. So you stop work at, what, like 1 a.m. or something?
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, I forgot about that.
But 1 p.m.
Oh, you work 1 p.m. till 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which then translates to be like early in the morning, around 1 a.m.
No, I think you finish work at 5 a.m. for me.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah. Well, I remember because you had just finished a night shift. Oh, a night shift. You just finished your work and you came out and were driving home, or you stopped or something, and we were just watching the sunrise together on a video call. I remember that.
Yep, that is true. We did do that.
Yeah.
Because like so many people that you talk to are here in the States, so your sleep schedule is all screwed up.
I don't sleep schedule. What on earth is a sleep schedule? I have no idea what that is.
His schedule has been messed up since the second year of college. That was 2021.
Yeah. I mean, I used to, in 2021, I would go to sleep at 2 a.m. And now that I've got friends in the States, I'm like, okay, I can fully embrace it. And I'll go to sleep at 5 a.m. That's fine.
Yeah, but then when I need you, you're not there. And I'm like, good damn it, Joe, you're sleeping. You do not understand, because he will message me at 3 in the morning any normal sane person will not be up at 3 in the morning, but you will be.
What makes you think I'm sane?
Nothing. The fact that I'm getting text at 3 a.m.
I literally did the other day, and I was like, oh, she'll pick it up when she wakes
We're
up.
going to record at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Are you down? Literally, I respond to him the next day, the day of recording, in the morning. Like, yeah, sure, no worries. See you in a couple of hours. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good.
You'll get used to it.
I'm gonna have to. The fact that I'm in university, my sleep schedule is whack. So the first week of sleeping was glorious.
At midnight on Thursday. And so at midnight on Thursday, just like, why do I keep forgetting I'm an introvert? And I'm like, I probably shouldn't have messaged her that because she's not going to see that until I'm asleep.
Couple of hours later, and I'm like, what are you on about? Are you okay? Should I call somebody?
Oh boy.
And then he responds to me at like 1 p.m. our time. And he's like, I just woke up. I'm just staring at the ceiling. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, my sleep schedule. Yeah. It's all good.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Anyway,
if you know me in
yeah.
real life, I'm sorry in advance.
No, you're not.
Oh, I feel that.
Let's move on because I feel like this isn't going to make a very interesting topic for a podcast. I feel like this is already becoming a train wreck of an episode.
Just like every other episode. What's new? Not really.
I'm here
You
for.
could have just told me we're recording, come on, and that was the end of our conversation. So,
What were you going to say, Lexi?
No, I'm here for the train wreck.
welcome to the train wreck. You're a part of it now.
Yeah. Come and join us, Thomas, on this train wreck. Talking of train wrecks.
Just make sure you come not caffeinated and half asleep. Then welcome to the train
Oh no. I've already checked off those boxes.
Love that.
Funny enough, I wrote an episode, because I'm a screenwriter, I wrote a scene where there's a train crash, and I've never written any script without disability in it. And so there are these teenagers who, lose their limbs to this train accident and stuff. And it's a sci-fi thing. So one of the girls, has superpowers and she, tips over the train or something. It's, wild.
Tell me you're unhinged without telling me you're unhinged.
You know what? I think writing is such a great, way of just getting out your deep feelings.
Oh, agree.
I have
Absolutely.
written some seriously dark stuff.
No, you tell me intensely dark stuff in normal conversations, especially in college. And I was like, what are you on about? Are you okay? No, thing with Joel is he loves intensely gory stuff.
I like what?
They're gory, not gory things, but gore and medical mixed together.
Oh yes, I do enjoy the medical stuff.
This is not a planned episode, Joel.
No. Oh man, it's those Zoom calls. Huh?
I guess that's the update. Keeping it short and sweet. We've been off.
Yeah.
Everything's a train wreck. Expo. See you soon.
Hello, this is Editing Joel, just quickly coming in here to say I completely forgot everything that I was meant to be doing. We lost our notes for the podcast recording, and so we were a bit of a mess, but don't worry, we remembered. Oh, I forgot the obvious. because this is being posted in July, it would be Disability Pride Month, which is the reason that we're posting it in July. And so, we're talking about, why we need a Disability Pride Month. That's what this episode is supposed to be about.
So kind of based off of what International Disability Pride Month is bringing awareness. And I think that's kind of it's really the main reason we actually started this podcast, is to raise awareness. And I think what we tried to do last season, as we said, was we tried to celebrate each day of International Disability Pride Month. And it didn't work out too well for us. But we will try. Not saying it's going to happen, but we can try.
Yeah.
Now, question. Is there anything regarding your disability or your life that you are proud about? That, I don't know, it's Pride Month, so tell us maybe something you like, or
I would say
Do you want to
that
start first, George? Should I start?
I'll go. I mean, I would say that just being disabled is a massive part of my identity because of the way that it affects my entire life. It affected my education, it affects my transport, it affects my relationships, it affects my work, it affects the way I get dressed, it affects literally every aspect of me. And because of that, if I didn't have my disability, I'd be a different person. And that's why I'm proud of it, because it is quite literally a part of who I am. I would argue it has more of an effect on me than my race or my gender or anything else, because nothing else affects the rest of my life like that. And like, I think also because I'm so visibly and so obviously disabled, like I'm a full-time wheelchair user and I have little legs and so on. People, you can't like look at me and not realize that I'm disabled. And so I just embrace that. People notice it and I don't mind because it's part of who I am. That's what it means to me to be proud of my disability. I embrace it. It's not something that I try and hide away. It's not something that I'm embarrassed about or I hate about myself. I used to hate it. I remember when I was like 6, I used to pray every night that God would make me able-bodied. But actually, as I grew up, I was like, actually, being disabled is okay. It's my life, and I'm happy with it. It took me a while to accept it, but I have definitely accepted it now.
No, I'm kind of the same like with Joel, as in there's no way to hide it. I can't hide it, and unfortunately, it does affect everything I do. Maybe the number one thing that makes me proud of myself and kind of makes me realize that although I do accept disability as as part of my identity, it's not entirely my identity. And I think it's also the way I was raised with my parents. So my parents, although they immigrated from Poland to the UK to give me a better life, they also raised me in a way that just because you're disabled doesn't mean you can't do anything. So it's kind of why I'm on this journey of getting my education, because I've been taught at a young age that I'm not going to be able to work physically. It's just not possible. However, I've got another ability, which is my brain and my intelligence and my way of gathering knowledge and using that knowledge to better help. Hence also why I'm a huge activist about disability, because I know I can use what I learn as a way to make things better. although it's going to be a slow process, it's going to happen. And slowly but surely, the next generation of disabled people, whether they are from a young age or if they are just being diagnosed at an earlier time in their life, but they still very much need this community, I can give them a way in saying, hey, it used to be a little bit worse before, but now it's going better, but with the impact that I can bring and everyone else can bring, it's going to get better with time.
What about you, Julia? No, not Julia. That's a wrong name entirely. What about you, Lexi?
Oh, I don't know if proud of having a disability is quite the right word. More of, since I was born seemingly normal, that there is an expectation, a societal and familial expectation that that I be normal and I do certain things, and so family and people, strangers, I mean, everyone expects me to do normal things and to act in a normal way. But in reality, it's a lot more, I guess, I tend to hide my issues a bit more when I am in public. Now, when I am alone, when I am in my own home, I am happy. I can just be however I want to be and live however I want to live. I don't have to adhere to any kind of societal expectations or what is normal. I can design my area to be comfortable for me. And there are certain things that I do when I am out in public. I have taken to, I guess, not being ashamed. I'm not ashamed of stuttering like I used to be. I'm not ashamed of stimming. In fact, stimming is something that I now do quite a lot, and I just do it. I don't care what anyone else thinks. There is society. There is still the societal expectations of, well, why would this situation make you uncomfortable? Why can't you just accomplish this job? And it ends up being more that people can get very disappointed in me for failing at certain things. So I do my best not to fail. But when I am by myself, when I am in my own home, it's okay to fail. It's okay to be free. It's okay to do so I have issues with ADHD, and my mind is, I'm trying to do one task and my mind is on 3 other tasks. So I tend to do one thing, a little bit of this, and then a little bit of that, and then I'll go over here and do a little bit of this, and then I do it in little itty bitty increments. And that works great for me. That does not work so well outside in society with other people. But I am not ashamed of my disability. I'm not ashamed of my issues, but my freedom comes from being alone. So that is my pride story.
Yeah. Cool. Julia, there was something that you brought up that I thought might be a bit interesting to get to know us a bit more. And that was, you mentioned, your parents coming to the UK to, give you a better life. And the sorts of things that your parents have done, and in some cases the sacrifices that were made, if it can be described as sacrifices, and the sort of upbringing. I wonder if you can tell us a bit more, maybe.
What was the question again, Joel?
Basically, what was your upbringing like as a disabled person? I said the question really badly, if that's any consolation.
Yeah, so when it came to my upbringing, it was more about adapting my goals to be reasonable. Solely because of my disability, whether that is a physical barrier or how do I put it? Or a mental barrier, I could say.
A mental block sort of thing.
A mental block kind of way, where unfortunately we are in a society or in a world where people kind of tell us that we can't do certain things. And I guess when you're a child, you believe that. Whereas it takes people like your parents to kind of teach you that, no, this isn't a barrier as you may think it is. You just need to adapt yourself around it. And I guess to give me that opportunity is the primary reason why my parents moved here. So my parents came from not a particularly poor upbringing, I would say. From stories I hear about their childhood was quite good and quite normal. But when it came to me, I was kind of that hurdle for them. And they had to realize that they needed to make changes in their life. And to be honest with you, I think that set me up in a great spot, because if I was still in Poland, I will be put into a category of you shouldn't be seen, heard, or get a decent education to high level. So me wanting to do very well academically kind of comes from my parents teaching me that you can't work physically as well as somebody else would who is able-bodied, but you can use other ways to do a good job and make a difference. One of them being using my brain and gaining knowledge, which I forever will be grateful for my parents, as, to be honest, they're kind of the primary reason why I'm in university, getting an undergrad degree, and hopefully getting a higher degree to get a higher paying job, and kind of give back to what they gave me. So the sacrifices they made, I want to repay.
Yeah. Cool. It's really nice that you want to give back to your parents like that. I have a lot of respect for that. Next, what about you?
Well, I feel like I am the complete opposite of Julia, in that I was expected to do a lot of things as a kid, and especially socially, physically, whatever. And most of the time I would fail at it. And so I didn't have anyone ever telling me, you can't do this. I did have people getting mad at me because I would fail at something. Well, you should be able to do this, so why can't you? And I could never answer that question. And I have extremely low confidence in part of that. I never had to climb up. I never had low expectations in which I had to climb over like you did. Rather, I had high expectations that I could never reach. And so, like that, it was quite, I don't know, quite devastating. And looking back, like my academics, I had great academics. I was an avid reader. I intellectually, I teachers expected me to go far. But I started struggling more by the time I got into middle school and high school. That reading became really, really hard. I went from reading so many books, but I couldn't switch from reading like kids' books and middle grade books. I couldn't get into adult books, and it's like I hit a wall intellectually, and everyone would look at my patterns like, what exactly is the problem? You did so great before. Why are you suddenly now? You're not trying hard enough. You're not doing enough. And there were lots of times where I would try something and fail, and rather than being encouraged to try again, it would be step aside, we'll take care of it. We just don't make a fool of yourself. You're failing. And so, yeah, I grew up kind of useless and not able to do much. So there are, honestly, it's not good to do what low expectations, but it's also not good to have high expectations that someone can't possibly reach.
Yeah, I think that I'm somewhere in the middle of you, probably closer to Julia rather than Lexi, in that I was raised with this attitude of you can do. Okay, there are things you can't do, obviously, but you can do. And so yeah, I think that's what, as Julia was saying, what gives me the confidence to speak out and to do all of this, because there are these silly ideas that physically disabled people aren't capable mentally. And so, I like to try and prove those people wrong. They tend to be older people. And my size doesn't help. Like the other week, I got mistaken for a 3-year-old, and someone went to stroke my cheek, and I went, yeah, like, right, you can go move your hand away. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that point.
I will be honest, it kind of
I had a
confuses
beard
me.
as well
Just
at
have
the
a beard.
time. Exactly.
There you go.
I'm
I was
like,
like, what
I
3-year-old
have a
has a
beard.
beard? If they have a beard, then I hit puberty way too quickly.
And yet you think I'm cute, how dare you? This beard is
You are. You're
amazing.
adorable.
Oh, please.
You're saved in my phone as Small Bean.
I'm just a cute little child.
This is why he's saved in my phone as Small Bean, okay?
Please say I'm not.
You really are. And for a while, I thought your name was Joel Sprout. Do not ask me why.
No, I have
Hence
a
where
friend
the
who thinks
whole
that too.
Small Bean came from.
Oh boy.
Wait, what do you guys call me? You guys call me Jules, don't you?
I literally, I was just thinking I only call people by their name. I don't have nicknames for anyone. Literally, you are saved in my phone as Julia S.
Wow, you're boring.
Exactly. Even my mum,
You're
I
saved
don't
in my
call
phone as
mum. I call her by her name in my phone.
Yeah, I had that as well for my mum, and then I changed it, and now it's mother.
Mother.
Mother. Because I kind of reference Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say mother.
No, I reference Game of Thrones, Mother of Dragons.
Oh boy.
But yeah, back to the whole like kid thing. It could, the thing is, I don't like how people like as soon as they see a physically disabled person, that's an excuse or a reason, a justified reason to go and touch them.
God.
Like pat their head, stroke their cheek, like, oh, how are you, darling? Like, no.
Aren't you a good little boy? Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And I'm like, as a kid, like that made sense. But I thought I would grow out of that.
No, they haven't actually done that to me. That was me taking the mick. Like, that is me. Like, whenever people pat me on the head, I'm like, yeah, I'll pretend to be a dog, sure.
No, I do that out of the fun of it. I don't actually do it to actually insult you, though. So,
Oh, yeah. No, it's different when you pat me on the head.
yeah.
I also pat you on the head. I have a riser on my chair that goes up to like 5'5" or something. And when I look down and I go, oh, you're right down there.
How much of a mick he takes. But the plus of it, you actually get things from high shelves for me.
She just
We
uses
went to a
me.
bookstore. We went to a bookstore recently and he did that. I'm like, thank you. But also, in terms of like how people perceive us, or I guess the values we have, also comes from the. I don't know if it's the. Do you think like it's the ethnic background also? Coming from someone who has Polish roots, although I don't live in Poland, I kind of live in terms of like the UK norm of things, right? When I go to Poland, their perception of me as a disabled person makes me super uncomfortable.
Okay. You know what, I have to say, I don't, I forget that I'm not white. And I don't think about my race at all. Like, my race has zero
But you lived here
impact
all
on
your
my life.
life, right?
Yeah.
You lived in the UK all your life. See, I think I lived there for 2 years. Obviously, I don't remember those 2 years because I was so young.
Yeah.
But I still can see kind of the cracks of it still a little bit. Not in just like maybe not in my parents so much anymore because now the perception is kind of what's here. As in just because you've got a disability doesn't mean you can't do anything. You can do anything you want as long as you accommodate yourself to like someone accommodates you to it. Or you put healthy boundaries and goals for yourself. Whereas in Poland when I go back there and I went there recently, when I tell them I'm in university, they are kind of in shock, horror, disbelief, and kind of question of why.
Yeah.
Even though they don't say why, they make their every single statement, any question, any conversation, kind of leads that way, kind of without even
Yeah.
being directly saying why. I came back from it. I came back from Poland, came back home, and I just like looked back at all those conversations, thinking to myself, my God, their perception is still so far behind.
Yeah.
It is actually quite scary. The fact that like I know people who are going to special needs schools and are being taught, everyone's being taught the same thing over and over again for a couple of number of years. Doesn't matter if they pick it up straight away or if it takes them a while to pick it up. And also to a very certain degree to get an education, which to me is absolutely wild. I'm like, why? Like, yes, you can teach someone something over and over again, but you have to realize it gets repetitive for some people. And two, maybe people don't get it because the teaching style does not connect with.
Yeah.
Like the same teaching style is applied for everybody, the same materials applied to everybody. You're just expected to pick it up
Absolutely,
at the
yes.
end of your education line,
Yes.
and that is it. Whether it's at the most basic level. Makes me realize how lucky I am actually to be here in the UK and actually getting a degree, really.
Yeah.
How was your, like, for you, Joel, like, do you feel there was people kind of asking you why without being directly asking you why?
I don't think it's happened to me particularly. Like, there was a. How do I tell the story? I have a friend now. He's become a friend now. But when I first met him, he's in his 40s, I think. And he has 2 disabled children, intellectually disabled. And you know, when we first met, he's a Christian as well.
Oh God, yeah.
He essentially prayed that I would be healed. And at the time, I was very, like, at the time he said that I was very very atheist. I'm like, how dare you, you know. I didn't say anything at the time, but I was like, you know, how dare you take away a part of my identity? And, you know, it took him a while to realize that actually I'm quite happy being a disabled person, and you know, this is my life and this is how I've lived all of my life, and so it's normal for me. And actually, you know, my brain isn't impacted, and you know, I can do you know, he was a bit surprised, I guess, because he's got intellectually disabled children. He was surprised that you know, a physically disabled child isn't intellectually disabled also. I guess that's what it was. I've never really spoken to him about it. But yeah, I think that's something that we've both dealt with, Julia. I think that's something you dealt with a lot, Julia, about, you know, people, religious people sort of coming up to you and praying for you when actually that's not what you want. And that can be quite damaging.
It's kind of also the reason why I disconnected from said religion. Well, not religion-wise, right? Here's the thing. In terms of religion, right? In terms of the teachings, in terms of the Bible, and saying like you like be kind, the 10 Commandments basically, don't murder, be kind, all of those kind of things. Like I believe that wholeheartedly. Like I believe those values so wholeheartedly. I don't believe in the teachings of the church because to me that seems like a gateway for people to put their expectations and their thoughts and their feelings and project them onto me by saying you need to be healed. Why would I need to be healed if God says his like everyone's made in his image and I'm disabled? That means he wanted me that way. Why should he heal?
Yeah.
Like why is that a
Absolutely.
thing? Like why should he heal if he wanted me to be this way? And unfortunately, like, yes, I've met a lot of people with disabilities, mainly through the Catholic religion, by going on pilgrimages to Lourdes, which I went to in April. And even though I love that community and like the people there wholeheartedly, sometimes I hear like people talk about healing. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As if to say, oh, we came to this place to heal. And I'm like, I didn't come to this place to heal. I came to this place to make friends. Unfortunately, to be in a place full of people with disabilities, from a range of disabilities, you unfortunately have to go to places that include religion. Because there's a huge stereotype of people with physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, mental disabilities, invisible disabilities, that they need to be healed. And unfortunately, a lot of people believe that. And that's why they go. Kind of is also the reason I went in the beginning. Well, actually, my parents wanted me to go. I just wanted to go to meet people. I did not think of it from a religious standpoint ever. And then as I got older, and I recently went, and I kind of seen it from a different lens. As a child, you don't see it through that lens as much. You just kind of like, oh, they want to heal me, but at the same time, it makes you question, am I broken? Am I not wanted? Am I basically trash in your eyes? And then now that I've grown up and I've kind of seen, like, social media has been a big platform for me to see that what I've been through and what I questioned is not a bad thing. Many people question it. And now, hence why I don't believe in the
That makes
teaching,
sense. Yeah.
but I still go to meet people because I believe the people are amazing.
Yeah.
Kind of disgusting, to be honest with you. The fact that religion has to be involved in every single aspect of a disabled person's, like, the vision or the visual of a disabled person.
No, there's been good and bad things about religion, but one of the big negatives has been about expecting conformity. You must be like this. You must have this orientation. You must there is like an expectation that I for pretty much all of my life I've considered myself Christian, and that I've always wanted to believe in a higher power, that there is a great designer, that we're not just a result of happenstance. And I have had some great experience of community with church groups and such. And that that faith and that I want to be a Christian, but seeing what's going on in America and just watching everything kind of fall apart by being taken over by fanatics and such, it makes me really question. One of the things that I do is I look a lot. I do a lot of research in cults. Now, Christianity in of itself is not a cult. It can do some wonderful things. However, seeing how people can manipulate the words to create to create an image, create the rules, these arbitrary rules that they may be in the Bible, they may not, like
Hate?
What was it? I think I was reading through the Bible, and for example, it does talk about how a man should not lay with a man, but on the same page, it says that you cannot eat blood because blood is life, and your meat must be fully cooked. I do not see people railing against rare meat. No, you are not allowed to eat a rare. You go to a restaurant. It must be fully cooked, well done. Like, so the picking and choosing of rules has really got me to question my faith, and seeing people and seeing how much other people have been hurt by those who call themselves Christian, or who are we to say who is Christian and who is not? But there are absolutely those who use that to manipulate others and to exclude other people. So, and does nothing about it. Like if he cares so much about us to be in our daily lives and not want us to do something like lying or being jealous or taking his name in vain, he cares so much about those things, but does absolutely nothing to stop people who are using his book to manipulate others and to exclude others. That if the Christian God is the true God, he made all three of us exactly the way we are. He made us to be the perfect versions of ourselves. But the way humanity sees us.
And I think with the use of social media, it's only gotten worse as well with time. Because back then, I do not remember this type of hate or as strong of a hate as there is now. Yes, there is a more sense of community where now people can interact and share their experiences, share their beliefs, their values, but it comes with a curse of now these communities that are starting to form are picking and choosing what they want to believe. And it's only humane, let's be honest. It's only humane that we only listen to what we want to hear. But at the same time, I think a lot of people need to realise, especially something as powerful as religion, that you cannot use that to overpower somebody else. Like, you cannot use it just to benefit one person. It needs to benefit the whole world, unfortunately.
I feel like we've gone off topic a bit.
We went down the whole rabbit hole of religion. But let's be honest, unfortunately, anything you want to do with disability, religion is going to be intertwined there somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good point.
There's no way of escaping.
Because there is a lot of spiritual abuse is the term that I think, sums up what we're saying here. Where there's a misuse of the holy book. Whatever religion that is, it's not just Christianity. It happens in pretty much all religions where there's this misuse. Spiritual leaders can deliberately sometimes misinterpret the word or the holy book in order to manipulate and put out their own views and stuff. And it happens a lot against marginalized people, particularly disabled people.
It also makes me wonder, is the things we talk about right now, what we talk about, is that religious trauma? Is that religious trauma? I don't know to what extent someone could tell you that it is.
I would say that it is. I mean, some of the things that Lexi was saying, I've experienced not the same thing, but similar things, and that is spiritual abuse and religious trauma.
Maybe that's why I've got such a dislike to going into any church. It doesn't matter if the person I know who goes there's an amazing person. The people I went with to Lewis, they're amazing people. But just the thought of going into a church now makes me severely uncomfortable.
Yeah. I get that because I have the same thing. I'm uncomfortable going into churches because that is a place where I've experienced a lot of pain. So yeah, I agree with that.
I'm also a people's pleaser, so when I went on that trip, although I was uncomfortable, I still wanted to be around people. Unfortunately, so that kind of makes me a people's pleaser, unfortunately.
There's one more thing I think I want to discuss in this episode. There was as I've said before, I'm very involved with Scope, which is a disability equality charity here in the UK. And something that we've noticed, both me and Scope, independently, is that there's a lot more in the media about disability, which is amazing. But recently there's also been some negative things. So sort of there's been media coverage and debate around disability benefits. In the UK, we've had politicians saying near enough that we are a burden on taxpayers.
Sorry, but that just makes me so weak in the like right now. Although I can't feel my legs, you get the pressure. It just makes me so like exhausted just hearing you say that.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, almost every disabled person would work if they were able to, and then you come out and say that we're a burden. Oh, thanks for that.
Oh, I wish that could work. Trust me, I would, but unfortunately, my chronic pain and my diagnosis say otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, I also got a text message a few weeks back saying that I would get paid £150 a one-off payment for all the cost of living rises and everything that's going on recently. I haven't got it yet. I will get it soon, I suspect.
Me neither.
I'm sure it will come through. But it's like they expect £150 over multiple months to reimburse us for everything, like literally the price of everything rising. Really? They think that's going to even nearly cut it?
It's a £50. No, you know what actually takes the actual piss? I'm so sorry for my language. But what takes the absolute mick is the Christmas time.
Oh yeah, the Christmas bonus. Is it £10 or £20?
I think now it's 20 because of the living crisis, but nonetheless, takes the absolute mick. And I'm like, thank you. Thanks for my Christmas gift of £10, £20.
Yeah, yeah. It is a bit like, is there any point in giving that? I bet it cost them a lot of money to set up that one payment.
It's better to use that money and invest it into accessibility or oh my god, accessible entrances and access.
Yeah. There is an article that I will leave in the description. Scope publishes open letter in response to destructive disability narrative. And there's a short letter basically about all the coverage that is saying that everyone who is out of work, disability benefits, is lazy and a burden on taxpayers, and is something that needs to be cracked down on. Listen, like, for me, my only source of income is my benefits. That's not enough to live off, and they think that £150 one-off payment is going to cut it.
Think about it, they did raise it recently again due to the cost of living crisis. So I used to get under 400. Now I get 400 like straight across.
Yeah, but if that's your only income, that's still not much.
Well, they can argue that I live from home.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that benefit changes whether you live alone or not.
But trying to change that information once you do move is hard because they need to go through the entire process.
Oh yeah, the benefit process is designed to make it as difficult as possible and as stressful as possible. I think it's to discourage people from getting benefits. And it is
I kind of
just,
also spoke with Theo about it actually, and I told him like that actually when I got my PIP, which is a benefit here in the UK, I thought the amount I got given was normal. Like even though the mark scheme and the points given was totally biased and like
mm,
did not benefit me in any sort of way, I thought that was normal. Until I spoke with more people about it, that I realized it's not normal. And Theo actually recently was like, how about you appeal? I'm like, yeah, if I appeal, that's gonna stop payments. It's gonna mean that I have to go through that entire like legal process.
yeah,
God knows how long it's gonna take. And then if you do get reimbursed, you're gonna get a large sum of money, God knows when. Like, what am I going to meant to be living off of then? Because unfortunately, the money I use for my PIP is used for my medical supplies, which aren't cheap.
Yeah.
no,
And I do occasionally like help my parents out, but that's very rare, and I've got money left over from the month.
I don't know. Now I myself don't have a disability because of my job. I am ineligible to apply even for temporary disability, which I tried to when I needed surgery, and I still haven't had that because I've got no way to survive after surgery while I recover. So one of the issues, my mother she receives disability payments, and she has not been able to work for quite a few years. And one of the big issues is the more you work or the more self-sufficient you are, the more you get punished for it. So she runs she has an online business, and she ships out to people who buy her products, right? And before, I think she was allowed to make like $3,000 in a month before it affected her disability. And then it got changed, and I'm not entirely clear if they changed it down to $600 a month or $6 a year. So if you make
Oh my God.
$600, well, then we're cutting out your benefits. So
that's ridiculous.
No, really?
so she basically closed down her store because she could afford to lose those benefits if she to sell too much. And so it really defeats the purpose of like I do understand the more you want to encourage people to be more self-sufficient and find other avenues, but to make it completely you can't live off of it, that's just wrong. And the same actually goes for the welfare system. It is extremely difficult to get off of welfare and such, because if you make a certain amount of money, you lose everything. It's not like, so you can never get yourself caught up. You can never achieve kind of normalcy. And the closer you get to a normal life, more the government will remove their part and make it impossible. So it's a self-fulfilling cycle.
Yeah.
See, there needs to be like some sort of buffer, some sort of safety net of some sort. Like, yes, I understand them saying you need to, the idea of reducing benefits to them might seem like a good idea because it's teaching people that, oh, that means we don't have to help you as much as you think you do. So we're going to slowly wean you off of our help. But if for some reason it does happen, whether you're disabled or not, you enter a block in your life that you just can't manage to get over, and that's going to hurt you both physically and financially, one way or another. And there needs to be that kind of buffer to help you. Like, to me, it sounds so absurd, to be honest. Like, removing your benefit because you can't earn more than $600 a month, a year. Like, how do you expect someone not to work, but only up until a certain amount? Like, there's just no way to stop that.
Exactly.
You can't stop working after $600.
Yes.
Like, you can't tell your boss, hey, I'm going to work for you, but make sure my paycheck does not exceed $600 a month.
Like, it is self-defeating. You know, they want to say, well, people shouldn't be relying on the government and yeah.
But also you shouldn't be working. They're just
so I understand they want to get rid of the fraud and such, and I heard somewhere that yes, there is some amount of fraud and people get on disability, they want to use and abuse it. That accounts for maybe 20%. 80% of people need it and use it exactly intended. And so people, I don't know, like, and it is so hard, just as you guys mentioned, just to be able to get those payments. Like the hoops that you have to jump through and the red tape that you have to cut through. Like, no one is doing this for the jollies.
Like, getting interrogated about your disability. Like, I had to go through an interrogation process, which to me was totally inhumane. Like, the fact that they have to visibly see that you're disabled, even though I gave them permission into my medical history. I don't understand, like, people frauding that kind of things. Because I'm like, if you are using all of that money into fake documents and fake identity, you might as well just not do it. Because what's the point? Like, it's such a backward cycle. But then when it's someone like us, and then they're like, oh, but you're faking it. I'm like, how on earth do you think I'm faking it? Do you think I've got the money to fraud all these documents, to fraud all these hospital visits, to fraud my wheelchair, to fraud the equipment I got given, unfortunately, through the government, unfortunately? Like, how on earth do you fraud that? Like, it to me, it's so, like, backwards, and the whole interrogation process. And I don't know if you've seen those videos, Joel, on TikTok or not, but there are, like, hidden, like, undercover hidden cameras where it's people who are assessing somebody for a PIP, where they have to come in and, like, answer questions, do certain activities to prove their disability. And for them to get, and then behind the scenes, in like the hidden cameras, getting mocked for what they do, how they do certain things, how they get up and transfer, how they get dressed. They're even telling you, oh, by the way, for them getting, like, literally someone's sitting there like, oh, how many points should I give to this person? Oh, give them 1 because they came in dressed really well when they came to this interview. Like, so the first red flag is you want someone to look stereotypically disabled, meaning no nice clothes. Unfortunately, we love to dress up. We love to feel good. Or the fact that you enjoy cooking from home, because I've seen those videos on TikTok where, like, oh, so cooking, how do you manage that? Oh, well, with the help of somebody, I enjoy cooking. I love making food, this, that, and the other. Like being genuinely happy with their accomplishments, just to be, and then behind the scenes being said behind their back, oh my God, they definitely, they know how to cook. That means they don't need anybody's help. So why are they here? Like, I'm just like, excuse me, like, at what point, who gave you permission to criticize that? The criteria is quite simple, straight to the point, straight to the bloody point. But yet they want to make it difficult by saying, oh, because you came well dressed, you know how to dress without assistance. Like, you don't need care in the mornings. I remember I told them that it takes me about an hour to get ready, an hour to get ready for bed and to get up in the mornings, like to start my day. And if I need to do anything extra with my medical needs, which I do, like like a few times a week, I tell them, yeah, it's like 3, if not 4 bloody hours a week, like of 3-4 hours plus that a week. And they told me, oh, so you only need 2 hours per week to help, meaning you're on a lower scale of assistance and you need help during the day. Do you see what I mean? That's how backwards that is.
Oh, wow.
Like, somebody make that make sense to me, please. I would love to know where the sense in that is. That's what was written in my legit PIP. In the documentation. And then later, Theo saying to me, "Julia, appeal that because what they wrote in that legal document is wrong. Like they need to be held accountable." I'm like, but what's the point? What's the point of appealing? It is scary. I'm also wondering who on earth gave them the authority.
One thing I have learned about just, I don't know, call it politics or such. So many of our rules are, people expect us to live a certain way. They imagine things in their head of how things they think things should be, and then they make a judgment based on their imaginings. And that seems to be a very common thread in so many aspects of life, when actually, because they're doing that, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling process. So, for example, you mentioned how in Poland, if you were in Poland, you wouldn't be able to get nearly the same education as you can now. Hey, I am very sorry for all the noise. I've got so much noise going around. I'm sorry. But it's kind of self-fulfilling. They think, well, just because you're disabled that you must be dumb, but they're the ones who are refusing to educate and to give that opportunity. And so in this way, they are making decisions as to what your needs are, and then complain that I like, well, that's good enough. I decided what you needed, so therefore I don't know. It's just really, really frustrating, and it's
I will tell you a very common phrase that I heard when I was always going there to visit. Disabled people should be not seen or heard.
Did they say that?
Oh, that is a very common phrase used over there. And it makes me internally angry about it.
Yeah.
I did some some history research years ago, and I think it was during the '88 Olympics. I don't know. It was hosted in Russia, whichever year it was. It was hosted in Russia, and Russia refused to host the Paralympics.
Mm.
So Russia refused to host the Paralympics because, according to them, they didn't have any disabled people in their country. Or why would they have Paralympics? And like, it's such a backwards way of thinking. And now, or well, I don't know about now, but in future Olympics, they have been dominating like the Paralympic sports and such. Once they started to embrace and seeing the potential.
I guess once they knew they could make a profit out of it, that's when they started to turn around to it.
Absolutely.
Well, when you think about it, Georgia's going to host Paralympics and the Olympics. To them, it's a cash grab, let's be honest.
Yeah. It is more how they can be benefited themselves.
Back to the whole Paralympics thing. I don't know if you guys have seen this on TikTok or in social media in general, how the Paralympics social media page is making fun of disabled athletes. As in, like, the normal Olympics, right? They are using audios that are like showing us, like, yeah, wow, look at this achievement that somebody threw a javelin so far, and that's an achievement. But yet, someone who is also doing the same exact sport but has dwarfism, and they are putting an audio that is semi-mocking, or people are making parodies of that clip, showing, for example, someone, the person throwing a javelin who has dwarfism, but doing a cut where it shows their shoe is covered in toothpicks, for example. Like, do you see what I mean? It's like such backwards thinking and backwards logic. It makes me wonder, like, you are, and they actually reposted that video onto their TikTok page, and I'm like, you're a page and an organization all about lifting disabled people up in the area of sports. But here you are mocking said disabled person for their achievement just to get clicks and views. Because unfortunately, those videos are seen as funny because people stitch them or they duet them and they just take the absolute mick out of it. And unfortunately, a page such as the Paralympics, they need the engagement. They're going to post those clips. They're going to repost those clips.
Yeah.
See, there's like two sides of the media. Like, one, yes, they are like supporting us, showing us love, attention. Yes, there should be more people with disabilities in the media, whether it's visible or invisible. But yet, as soon as it is known that someone has a disability, they take the absolute mick out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just the only one who saw that, but apparently.
I don't know what you said, Julia.
Like, at all, like the entire thing?
Like the last sentence.
I said apparently the media is a two-sided coin. One where they support you and they love you, but the second part is that they take the absolute mick out of you, and it's okay because it's media attention of some kind.
Yes. Yeah. And I think part of it is the audience and just misconceptions so much. So I remember a video from years ago from a Paralympics, and it was an archery contest. And so 2 competitors. One was a guy with congenital limb differences. He didn't really have any arms, and so he shot his bow with his legs. And he was completely comfortable doing this, and no issues. And he got bullseyes, and he won. The other guy was someone who appeared normal, mostly. He was a soldier with PTSD and nerve damage. He lost vision in one side, and he didn't have much functionality in one side of his body. And so he struggled. You can see him struggling to use the bow, and the comments were so brutal, mocking him for, oh, well, look, that armless guy couldn't did better than you. What's your problem? It's like, well, there's a big difference, and it is in part of how people look, but like just the public perception, and it doesn't help with any kind of video that it shows in a mocking light.
Yes, either
Yes.
you have a disability or you're faking it. There's
Yes.
no middle ground. Or the misconception of a wheelchair user where they can move their legs. Like, not everyone who uses a wheelchair is paralyzed from the waist down. People have neurological problems that could help make them not being able to walk properly, or nerve damage, or they have seizures or something. Like, it's yeah.
I watched I saw one, and I wish I could find it again. It was someone saying that exact thing, that not all wheelchair users are paralyzed. And this was a video that was stitched, and I really wish I could find it again. It was a video that was stitched, and the woman saying this, that not everyone who uses wheelchairs can't walk. She was a heavier woman, and so the person doing the stitching, a skinny commenter, just mocks her. Well, about being fat and lazy, and there was absolutely no indication in the video that she was even talking about herself using a wheelchair. She was just making an overall statement. And like, I don't quite know where I was going with that, but
was she being rude in making that stitch, or was it more like awareness, like, hey, people who have a wheelchair don't necessarily are paralyzed from the waist down?
The person who was being stitched, the heavier woman, she was being respectful, but the woman who was doing the stitching and making a comment, she was mocking it. She was mocking, like, that ridiculous thing, and completely missed the point of the message, and instead went to mocking. And like, that is kind of the power of the media. And maybe like Joel and me, and yeah, I'd love to see what Julia writes, but writers and entertainers have a chance and opportunity to show a different side of things, a more realistic. We need more disabled writers and more disabled characters in media, because even though we tell ourselves, oh, well, that's just fiction, the reality is it does affect our subconscious, and then we reflect those judgments on other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much, the media impacts you, but it really does. It really, really does.
Maybe it's one of the main reasons why I haven't been active on it as much. Because, like, I don't know if I think I mentioned this to Joe actually more than once, that ever since we started the podcast, I kind of took on the role of the Instagram account. And I've been following like creators on there and stuff like that, just to show some sort of engagement from our side that we do support creators who are disabled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as I did that, and I did not the exact same thing, but a similar thing on my personal one, and I started seeing disabled creators at first, it was all sunshines and rainbows, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm seeing disabled creators, and they're saying all of these things. These are so true. Like, I've experienced that. And then somehow, some way, I entered this deep, dark, kind of twisted rabbit hole of the disabled community, where it's not the disabled community themselves saying anything bad. It's able-bodied people who do not understand saying awful things, stitching creators, mocking them, taking the absolute mick out of them. And I'm like, how on earth did I get here? And just seeing these like awful comments, although some of these comments have been positive, I don't know why, but I went on this like whole mission of finding the mean comments. I know that may sound twisted, and may sound absolutely wrong, like, oh, you shouldn't be looking at negative comments, especially if they don't concern you. But I was just curious what people were saying about this creator or creators, and once I realized, and I was like, oh no, what kind of rabbit hole did I enter? Like, I don't know how to get out of it. And now my For You page is all of these weird videos of people mocking disabled people. Even though I don't like them, I don't engage with them in that way. I just look at comment sections, but still the algorithm picked it up, and now it's showing me those things. And I'm like, get me away from social media, and I haven't been on it as often as I used to, mainly because of university, but also just because I was doing it so bad for mental health.
Yeah, it really can be.
I was like, I can't be doing this.
On a slightly more adding, I guess, to the painful part of that, those same people who are making those cruel comments are also the ones who are voting and making decisions about your life and what you're allowed to
all of that do. Yes. Oh, finally somebody said it.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes, that is so true. Like the person who is in charge of pensions, like the finances, what the hell are you doing? I don't know, is there some sort of law, Joel, in the UK where you can only earn a certain amount before for your benefit not to go down?
No,
I don't think PIP
there's
has
anything
any
like
impact.
that. There's no law, but it's just what the government decides.
Yeah, but I don't think PIP gets touched at all. Unless you get it reviewed every 10 years, then yes, but that's a whole different thing.
I have no idea. I don't understand enough about
I know mine
PIP.
expires in 2030. Well, expires. It gets reviewed in 2030.
Yeah, I don't know. Shall we finish
Anyway,
there?
that needs to be an episode of its own.
Yeah. Finances can be an episode of its own. Yeah.
I feel like Scope needs to jump onto that, or maybe it's someone who.
Oh,
I
Scope
don't
are
want to just put it
definitely
in the
on it.
UK part.
Scope are
If that makes
definitely,
sense.
Scope are definitely, talking about finances, and they're definitely campaigning to the government about stuff like that. Yeah.
Podcast needs a freaking LinkedIn account. That's what it needs.
I've got a LinkedIn account. Join us also on LinkedIn.
Yes, join us for our LinkedIn accounts.
Yeah, I think we have. So I'll go through a quick list of all the platforms we're on. To listen, we are on. Oh, I lost my mouse. Even my computer does this. Jeez.
Spotify. I know Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts,
Yeah. Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, the obvious ones.
We're on. Wait, why can't I find what I'm looking for?
It's 16. I know that for a fact.
Podcast availability. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, Lexi, we are on 16 channels for podcasting.
We are.
It's actually
Amazon Music,
spectacular.
Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Stitcher, YouTube. And then on social media, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And you can also email us. Thanks very much for joining us on this episode of Ramped Up. Series 2, very, very exciting stuff coming. We've got another episode coming out this time next week. And you can keep up to date with everything we're doing on our social medias at rampedup.podcast. We have a TikTok and Instagram with that handle, and a Twitter, which I've forgotten. Our Twitter is ramped_up_pod, because apparently you can't do ramped up podcast. And so we're going to start posting there more often. And yeah, we thank you very much for joining us. Check the description down below for all details on our social media and all of our links. And let's do our 3-person outro. That's it for me, Joel Sprouse.
Me, Julia Shenko.
And Lexi Bushnell.
Yay!
Sweet people.
Woohoo!
Thank you very, very much. Goodbye.
Bye.